This is the podcast that we ask our guests from in front and behind the camera, how did they get their foot in the door? What was the key to unlocking their success? What's their story? Our guest today is a BAFTA winner. She burst onto the scene with her feature film debut Ratcatcher, but you may know her best for You Were Never Really Here, starring Joaquin Phoenix, or the critically hailed We Need to Talk About Kevin. We chat about finding her passion, her dark Scottish sense of humour, which always seems to creep its way into her movies, and her latest, Die My Love, starring Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson. Our guest today is writer-director LYNNE Ramsay. The films you've written and directed are I just love the tone. They always look beautiful. The characters are always interesting, character-driven, dark, funny. In terms of Ratcatcher and going back to the beginning of your career, how did the love of film and writing and becoming a director, how did that all begin for you?
I think I was always into... Well, my mum and dad were really into cinema, films, so I saw loads of films when I was a kid, listened to loads of music. Then I was, I painted a lot, I did photography, I did cinematography, so it sort of evolved from there. And so I had a pretty good understanding of the language, of thinking in images. Then I was always went to sound classes at film school, so I was always really interested in sound. And it just kind of started from there. It kind of evolved from there, because I thought I'd probably either go to the Royal College of Art to do photography, fine art photography, and I ended up as a filmmaker, so it was a sort of kind of, one of those journeys that you don't expect,
And it's worked out very well. Obviously, we're here, you've got this amazing film. And I did see that, you did train to be a camera operator, and you was that ever... Did you ever think maybe you would do that and that would be your route, or...?
Yeah, I trained to be I went to... When I was at film school, it was there as a director, to light the camera, you know what I mean? But as soon as I got there, I was like... I'd done a fine arts degree, I was like... I can only... It was the wrong course for me, I felt, because it was like... I was really about as a photographer, I was looking at the world in a certain way, you know what I mean? So it felt like easier for me to get away in a different way. But I enjoyed what I learned, because I knew all the time. I became, that it's good to know every part of your skill, So it was good for me,
Of course.
Yeah.
And that being your route in, do you have any advice for anyone that's trying to maybe get their script made or get into the directing seat somehow?
Well,
it's a tricky
I don't know
one,
if I'm the best person to give advice, but I think if you get something that, if you stick to your guns, if you try to do something that everybody likes, it'll never happen. That's what I think, Yeah.
I guess you just got to, because I myself am an actor, and doing the podcast was kind of like, this is a way in as well, to chatting to people like you. Kind of finding your route and then 100% going for it, I guess.
Well, that's what I think, I mean, it's like, I kind of think that when I've really sort of stuck something out, and even if people said no, you can't do that, or, there's not enough money for that, then I'm like, oh, well, I'll make it a bit shorter and we'll get enough money for that. There's a way in, so I think it's, and also if you really want to make a piece of interest in cinema as well, it's going to be challenging, but you've got to be kind of resilient, and keep at it,
100%. Do you have, before this all began and you started this journey, did you ever have anything else that you were going to do? Maybe you're going to do pottery, or maybe an artist, or was there another route that you almost took instead?
Probably a painter, yeah. And sometimes I wish I had, you're a bit like, oh my God, this is so
There's
hard.
still time, you could do a bit of both.
Yeah.
Your movies, though, they do look like paintings, and this film, not shot on widescreen, and afterwards I was like, oh, it wasn't in widescreen. Was that to do with it making it feel claustrophobic? What was the thought process behind that?
It really was dictated by that house, because Seamus McGarvey, the DP, and the cameraman, and we went into that location, and we're both going to scope, because I used that. And, I've used different aspect ratios, but basically I thought that we were both looking at it, thinking that, and then the house was very, very it felt very boxy, and it was great to see the doors, so they could move in and out the doors and stuff in a certain way. Like I could see I could use this space in a certain way. It was a bit like a trap, you know. So I'd never shot Academy, you know, and actually I was like, it's a portrait frame as well, and it's very much a portrait film. So we did tests and kind of like, you know, worked really well in the house, and then I took the camera outside and I was like, oh my God, we should have shot summer school. You have to, every aspect ratio is like a different kind of language in a way, you know, so you need to be, you know, like, you kind of learn a new language, but yeah, we came, it was out of the location and it seemed like right for it,
And your films, they have a particular look to them. Do you stick with the similar team? I know obviously you change in out the cast and you change out various things, but
I've worked with a lot of great DPs, but I feel like with my visuals I'm quite confident, you know what I mean? So, but I've worked with Seamus McGarvey before, and this was, you know, it was just a joy to get back, you know, working with him. He's a real charming Irishman, you know. So, you know, and I think he loved working with me because I was like, let's try reversal film stalker, like a different look, you know, let's go with, you know, we could bounce off each other and I would let you know, and play a little bit, or maybe in a way that he couldn't, you know, other films so much, you know.
Well, I'm always looking forward to your next films, and in terms of sitting down and actually writing a script, that's it's a huge undertaking. What is it that sort of makes you sit down and go, right, I'm going to commit to this idea?
Oh God. I think it's, if you think there's something just really, I mean, you're going to stick with this for a few years, like, so you're going to need to like it, you know, like, it's something I think to me is original, and it's about the human condition, it's about something I'm really interested in, then that's the thing to stick to, you know. If it's something that's a bit vapid, it's not going to, you know, you won't do it, you know, you won't last more than like a few months in that. So it's got to be like quite weighty and like feel like it's kind of layered and interesting, you know, for me, kind of commit to it,
Now for a quick break. We'll be back to the episode shortly. If you enjoyed this episode and want to support us, get early access and exclusive content and episodes, click to join our YouTube channel and become a member now. Please leave us a positive rating. Add us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at lifeinfilmpod. Essentially, please like and subscribe everything. It makes a huge difference. Thank you. Life in Film has partnered with Betterhelp to provide you with access to the largest online therapy service in the world. And it can all be done from the comfort of your own home, from a phone, tablet or laptop. No commute, cutting down travel costs, and most importantly, it's affordable. With over 1,000 therapists in the UK, Betterhelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a wide variety of expertise in mental health. If you need someone to talk to and you're thinking of giving therapy a go, BetterHelp is a great option. And being a listener of the podcast, you get 10% off. That's 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lifeinfilm. That's betterhelp.com/lifeinfilm. We are sponsored by movieposters.com. Are you a movie fan? I presume you are. Well, at movieposters.com, you can shop for all your favourite posters in one place. The #1 source for high-quality, authentic movie posters. From new releases to cult classics and 100% authentic originals. Thinking of having a browse? Well, if you see a poster that tickles your fancy, as a listener of the podcast, you get 10% off. That's 10% off with promo code lifeinfilm10. That's promo code lifeinfilm10. So why not give it a go? And back to the show.
The movie has hit close to home for me because I've got a four-week-old at home.
Right, okay.
So, and
sorry.
I know, no, it's all good. But it really, there's so many moments in it that really ring true. And like, 4 weeks ago, I would have been like, is that what happened? Maybe that's the thing. This is based on a book, but for you writing a script, how did that come together and how did that land on your desk?
Well, it was kind of, Jen sent the book, like Jennifer Lawrence sent the book. I was like, I'm not going there because I've done Kevin. I wouldn't say that. It just said that I was thinking, how do I think myself into this? And I was on a different project as well. Films keep changing and whatever. But it was, it kind of landed like that. She kept asking me. Then I was like, I need to find my way into it. And I'm glad what you said just straight away because, it was like, people were, you look at the back of the book, it's a postpartum depression film, book and stuff like that, which it actually isn't. It's like, there's loads of things about the relationship. It's about the relationship, about the baby, but about the whole disintegration of, like, what they expect, their expectations and stuff. So I sort of saw it as a love story, actually. Yeah,
and it's funny.
Yeah.
Which is
and
not
I
what
wanted to make it funny.
Yeah,
that was a big deal.
There's moments and really real moments between the two of them where you kind of think, wow, that I can see myself in that situation, or I've been in that situation.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to Jennifer Lawrence sending you a script.
It was the book.
The book, sorry, and then obviously you write the script. But when you get an actor coming to you with that, does that happen often? That seems like quite a nice thing, especially if it's a good project, a good book.
It can sometimes happen, but I think as a filmmaker, you've always it's a material, like it is, and it can be like flat. Waking up with an email from Jennifer Lawrence is kind of fun, like, really, but in a beautiful way. But to me, it's always about what the material is, and so I responded to the material, and then and she was up for it. She was up for going that far. So that was, you're thinking, well, that's interesting.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's moments in this film I was like,
yeah,
we're going there, amazing. In terms of, Jennifer Lawrence was obviously attached early on, finding that partner, finding Robert Pattinson for this. Yeah. What was the casting process? Because a lot of your movies, you have amazing casts. How did you find him?
I just thought of him. I just thought he's doing really interesting work. I think he's amazing. I think he's got loads of range. I think the way he's going is like more and more interesting. And I thought, and I spoke to him, and he's a really down to earth guy. And I think he just had a kid as well, and I think he understood as well. He'd some familiar, like he'd some really a relative or something, that had some issues, like I think he could understand it, and I think he was up for playing, the hapless husband sometimes, even though that was a bit of a thankless part, but then he loves her, and then it had a lot of dimension to it, and I think he really brought that, into it, and also that she does his head in, and it's like, but and but that's maybe what he loved about her in the beginning. This craziness was what attracted him to, and that she's sexy and all these things, but it becomes too much, like, and now life is different, so I think I'd love to work with him again, like in the central part, the main part. Yeah, I think he's an amazing actor.
He's incredible. He's not to make this about Robert Pattinson, but going from Twilight and then finding these smaller projects waiting and doing Batman, and it's such a variety of projects.
That says a lot about him.
Yeah, and incredible. They're both incredible in the film, and Jennifer Lawrence really brings this sort of, I don't want to give too much away because I went in not knowing too much, and that's how I like to watch films.
That's good. That's why I don't, sometimes it's hard to just go, what's the film, and someone writes something and then people go with the expectations, because I think I don't think it's that kind of film you can put in a box really that easily, No. It's more like an experience,
Well, I saw that you were directing it, you'd written it, I saw they were in it, and that was I'm all in. So I just enjoyed the experience of not knowing where it was going.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was going to hit home quite so hard, having a baby at home. But yeah, really enjoyed it, and your movies always find that element of comedy, no matter how dark it is. Is that like a Scottish sense of humour? It's like a very dark sense of humour, but you always seem to find it. It
could be. I think it's because you don't. To me, it's like there was something absurd about the whole thing as well, and I think also I think you can never do. I hate things when they're so heavy that you have to sort of turn the world around and laugh at it sometimes, because otherwise you'll cry. You know what I mean? And I think that it's so bonkers this in places that it was really. I mean, the first thing I said, I thought, because I don't know if you would read this book and go, it's funny. You wouldn't, It's like, but was to take everything I thought was absurd and like like really, those like thinking about a couple in this situation, and really think, how can I add some element of even if it's gallows humour, because course. I think that just makes it much more. It gives you a way into this world,
It's more dimensional having those different layers and flavours.
If you enjoyed this episode and you want to support us, get early access and exclusive content, all ad-free, click and join the Life in Film YouTube channel and become a member now. Thank you to our guest Lynn, and thank you to Rebecca and the rest of the team at Organic PR. Thank you as always to our sponsors, Betterhelp and movieposters.com. Use our affiliate links to get 10% off. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. It makes all the difference. Thank you for listening.